Okay, so when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back into the Zoom meeting. Okay, so just as a beginning, I would like to announce that we've got our third book of Ramna's teachings back from the printer yesterday. Anybody wants to order this book, it's on sale at the moment for half price. So this is the third book of the probably four books we're going to produce based on this manuscript from 1936. So this is Ramana speaking in this book and in the other
Es
two
ist
books.
Ramana, der in diesem Buch
It's an
spricht.
amazing treasure, I would say.
Sein
And I will read
beeindruckender Schatz.
to you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the Indian retreat is almost full now. We have actually 2 rooms free. And also we're looking, or I'm looking for a young, probably a young woman who would like to come as a helper because my daughter's 9 years old. They're both coming to the retreat. And in the afternoons, there would be a job for somebody who likes to come as a volunteer. So if you know some younger person that might fit, India, I was thinking we could ask Lavanya maybe. Her daughter was here, and I think she's about to go traveling. That could be a good start for her. Okay, would somebody like to share the meditation time? What happened for them in the meditation? So maybe I will ask Yogi, would you like to? You're well dressed, so I guess you may be back in Ireland. Are you back in Ireland?
Yes, I'm back in Ireland and it's cold, but that's okay.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I thought it was perhaps not the right clothes for Turkey or wherever you're off to.
Yeah, true.
Right.
So yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. Yeah, the meditation was lovely. I always going inside. I feel the pulse of the heart. It seems, and with a little bit more settling, I feel it not just in the heart, but everywhere in the brain and the arms and etc. But it was a nice feeling of not feeling of sense of no information arriving. As I was just set. And yeah, just no information for a while,
Right.
which is quite pleasant.
Very pleasant. Yeah. Yeah. And
So
in your normal life, in your daily life, do you also have moments like that?
Yes, yeah, um, yeah. Without sometimes with actually uh, making or creating a space for it to happen. Yes, maybe not so um, deep or profound as just sitting together. But yeah, I would say yeah.
Okay, good, good. And I wonder whether you might know some younger woman who would like to help with my daughters, because you've been dealing with lots of people, and then maybe you can think of somebody who might like to come.
Um, yeah, possibly. I will come back to you guys immediately if I find somebody or if I
Okay,
know of somebody.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll sit with that once our call is done, and if I know of somebody, I will pass it on through WhatsApp, etc.
Okay. Very good. Nice.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you again. You've been away
Good to
for
see you.
3 months. You see, in that time you were away, we produced this book. Not so bad.
Uh, It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah?
fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on. Go on. Yeah.
No. Do we order the book via the Open Sky House website? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You ordered it today?
No. No. I will order it now. Maybe tomorrow.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Mhm. So, who else would like to share this meditation time? What happened inside? Maybe Marga would like. Nice to see you again.
Yes. Hello.
And I think you've decided to come to India now, haven't you?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
already very busy with visums and everything. I just got the visa, thus I'm very happy that I can come in. It was quite difficult to get it.
Ah, okay.
Um, uh, Maybe I didn't understand what you mean with the meditation. I thought you said feel what you feel inside. So, and I thought you say that 3 times. So what I felt was like a big hole and like I have eaten 10 times too much.
Oh, really? You feel a bit congested in your body.
Um, it was, yeah, yes, it looked like that. And that was that was what you were asking, right? Or did you ask something else? Maybe I didn't understood it.
Well, I mean, what I was asking included how you understood it, but this is a meditation we start every Zoom meeting with, and I use it other times too, where basically I'm asking you to look inside and bring your awareness to whatever is the strongest thing, which often is just thoughts. People who are more beginners, they only really come to their thoughts or their feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the body sensation also. But
Mm-hmm.
gradually, when you meditate regularly and so on, it should be possible to be quiet in this about 10, 12 minutes. And so actually it's quite possible at the end of the meditation that you found emptiness, you found silence, you know. So it's a sort of multi-purpose meditation.
Mm-hmm. I liked the question. It was such an easy question. So
Right.
yeah.
And the nice thing about this is that, one of the most important things we need to develop is awareness of whatever's going on without getting kind of caught up in the thing, just to be an observer.
Yeah.
Just sitting on the hill, looking down in the valley, and then you're just realizing all kinds of things that are happening,
Yeah. The day before yesterday, I wrote something about Ramana, and that was that he said that we are all a jaw where Gemin is, but the gem is away, and we are all oh, we are all like little buckets. And when we die, the bucket is going away, and what's in the bucket will be the same as what is out of the bucket. And that I like that story a lot. Do you understand which story I mean?
Actually, I don't. As you're telling it, I can't recognize it as something I've read myself in this material, for
He's
example.
talking about, well, I thought it was from Ramana, maybe it was somebody else. He was like when you're going to die, first you are like a jaw, and when you die, the jaw is broken, and what's in the jaw, it's the same as what is out of the jaw. Probably it's somebody else because nobody recognizes it. but that was
Yeah,
very
it doesn't sound very Ramana-like, but if you find a reference, you could send the quote and the reference to me.
yeah. I think I know where it's where I wrote it, where I read it, and for me it's I'm a little afraid to die, and when I read that story, I thought it's not very awful to die because you just only use your body. That's it.
Right, right. Well, certainly Ramana talks about what you just said, and he did that in the context that towards the end of his life, he had a cancer on his arm,
Yeah.
and he didn't give much energy to what happened to that. He was content to allow it to naturally take him away. And in the last year of his life, he became very much depleted in a way. His body became very much depleted from this cancer on his arm.
Mm.
And finally, different doctors who'd been involved, they had said to him, the only way we can save you from dying is to cut your arm, cut the cancer out of your body by cutting off his left arm. And he said, no, thank you. We don't need to do that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, have you, I mean, probably when you were on Zoom before, I told you about this book, which is the first one of the series. We've actually now produced 3 books. I don't know if you ordered this, but this is a fabulous book. It's in English, and your English is very, very good. And this would be a great introduction to the retreat if you're able to read it enough.
That's a good idea.
In this
I went to the
book,
library, but I couldn't find a book from him.
right. So this book is also half price. These 3 books are all half price right now until Christmas. And this one, we chose some good examples of surrender when he talks about surrender and when he talks about self-inquiry. So all his teachings, we chose some of the best quotes and put them in our first book from this manuscript.
Nice.
And then because self-inquiry is what he's most known for, is offering a spiritual practice of self-inquiry, who am I? This is the next book we did. And then we got this book yesterday back from the printer. This is Surrender.
Wow,
So
a lot of work.
It's a lot of reading there, but it's a kind of very joyful reading. It's not, how can I say, the reading is giving information, but at the same time, because of the way he spoke, you can, and how it's been, how the diary was written back in 1936, you also certainly get a sense of the energy that was there in his ashram, in the room where he was talking to people every day.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're coming to India, we'll have the books there. So, you know, we'll carry them. We'll carry your books for you.
I'm looking very forward to India. Very.
Right. Yeah. It's actually a super nice retreat. And we told you, this is the 25th year that I've offered this retreat.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm a bit amazed to realize that.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, nice speaking to you.
Yeah.
Where were you? Okay. Somebody else like to share a little bit? Just wave your hand. Saraswati, would you like to? You've been on my mind a bit the last day because I was planning to call you every day, and every day I didn't call you because something else called me.
Yeah, so in the beginning, there were some thoughts
Anfang waren da einige
asking,
Gedanken,
why do I feel so
sowas wie,
relaxed or so calm,
warum fühle ich
even
mich
though
so
I had a
relaxed, so
bit difficult start in the
still,
day.
obwohl ich so
Ja.
einen anstrengenden Tag
But
hatte
then
heute am
I
Anfang.
felt, well, I I felt when I got more deeper, then I got a bit more again in touch with some
Na, als ich das
sadness, but
so
it was
angefangen
also
habe, dass ich ein
not
bisschen tiefer gekommen bin und da war ein bisschen Trauer.
I could in a way just see it, observe it,
Aber
and
ich
it was
konnte
not
das
grabbing me
einfach
or
nur
something.
beobachten. Das hat mich
And
nicht wirklich gepackt.
along with it, yeah, feeling of
Und dazu kam
quiet feeling,
eine Stille,
being present in a way.
präsent sein.
Right. Yeah. Good. And how are you doing down in
Gut,
Spain
und
there?
wie geht's dir da unten in Spanien?
The last days I was working on
Ja,
on one
nee,
of the
nee.
books.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Die
yeah.
Tage
And,
habe
That's
ich
right.
an einem der Bücher
that was
gearbeitet.
an amazing experience.
Das war
So
eine
I
Wahnsinnserfahrung.
enjoyed this a lot.
Ich habe das sehr genossen.
You're finishing the French book, I think, aren't you?
Du
And or the
machst
Russian
jetzt
book
We
das
finished the
Französische
Russian
oder
book
das Russische fertig.
today.
Das
Mhm.
Russische habe ich
Ah,
heute
very
fertig
good.
gebracht.
Excellent. So we're going to print them immediately. When you also can do the French one, we're going to print a few copies of both. And we've also published in
Super, dass
Spanish,
du das
of course,
gemacht
as
hast.
you
Wir
know.
werden ein
We've
paar
got the Spanish one down there
davon
in Spain.
jeweils ausdrucken.
Yeah.
Und wir
Good.
haben sie auch in Spanisch,
Okay.
das weiß ich. Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody else who'd like to share their meditation? Have a bit of a chat before I read out the text we'll talk about tonight based on surrender, about surrender.
Yeah.
Can you wave your hand, please?
Yeah, I found it was so quiet. It was so quiet that at one point this impulse came up to check if the tech is working because it was so quiet. The whole house everything was so quiet. And then I looked shortly on the screen and still everything seemed to be running. You wiggle
Right.
around a bit or something. And in the meditation, there was some pressure here. And then I put the attention there, and then somehow kind of, I don't know, it was really funny. A kind of light showed up and it expanded, and it felt like a golden Buddha kind of showed up, and that golden Buddha was radiating just light. And then
this golden Buddha is called Om, is it?
In my mind, it was attributed to John David. But
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it came and then it dissolved.
Yeah, good. Okay. So gallery. Okay. So I'm going to read an interesting text I have here. So if anybody has their book or you haven't got the book because I only arrived yesterday. So Okay, so actually I'm reading from page 9, the beginning of the book. So Ramana was asked, suppose I find the who am I method too difficult. Is there anything else I could follow? Bhagwan, watch the thought I carefully, how it emerges, how it gives rise to other thoughts, and how it resolves into its source. Rising from sleep, I is the first thought to rise, to haunt one before going to sleep. It is the last thought which resolves itself into beingness or the life current before the ignorance of sleep sets in. Keep watching this thought I. Do not try to suppress or control the thought I or any other thoughts. Do not make any inquiry as to the reason for the emergence or prevalence of the thought I or any other thought. Simply keep on observing this primary mental modification that you call I, its activities and its rising and setting. So what he's describing there is the basis of the meditation we did just before. Yeah? This observation, if sufficiently intense and continuous, should, over the course of time, wax or mature into an unwavering stream of subjective self-attention, or awareness, you can say awareness, which is maintained at all times steadily, and in which observer, facility of observation, and observed have merged imperceptibly and seamlessly. In due course of time, this life current will, of its own accord, lead you to liberation. Okay, so anybody like to comment about what I just read? So what he's described there is like you could say the fundamental suggestion that Ramana always has, whoever comes to talk to him. So that's a rather important bit of text, I would say. And then he was asked, to those who find even this difficult, Bhagwan then says, then surrender is the only way. And then he was questioned again. I've heard of Bhagwan's line of teaching that complete surrender to God or unconditional surrender is the goal. But I find it impossible to achieve unconditional surrender. How to accomplish it? So this is another very important question about surrender. So Bhagwan says, if one generally feels from the bottom of one's heart, not I, but thou, not my will, but thine, I am totally helpless to do anything. Let the Lord do as he likes with me. Some higher power, name it the power or strength of the self, the word self is used in India, or anything you like, take up the man in its embrace and deliver him up to the goal. Your will becomes completely non-existent. The Lord's will takes its place. You cannot have likes, dislikes, or preferences after unconditional surrender. It is for you to meekly accept the will of the divine. Such a one would not have the idea that he is the doer of the actions performed by the body. Having surrendered, one does not pray for this or that, but simply takes to be God's will, whatever comes to transpire. To surrender is to merge in the source of the ego. Thus, having given up the ego self in this manner, no one remains to ask, when will self-realization dawn on me? Nor any other question. Absolute surrender is the culmination of devotion. So this is also a very important small text, because what he's suggesting is that at the moment in your life, you're referring always to me, to I. Everything is referred to I. But when we surrender this, then my own likes and dislikes, I want to go there, I want to do that, or all these kind of things which we endlessly repeat in our lives, we have to let all that go. That's the surrender. We let go of all that and we make ourselves empty so that, in fact, we are following in a sensitive way. We follow what God is showing us. I have a good example of that because I just caught Santosh in the corner of my eye. And recently, Santosh was explaining to everybody that, life is pretty terrible for him. He's now 30 years old, and he had a rather difficult beginning when he was a kid because his mother in those days seemed to believe about discipline, and she gave him what he remembers as a very difficult time. So this has affected his life very strongly, he told us a day or two ago. And at the same time, he's now living in our community, and everybody has got to know him as a very sweet man. And so in the circle on Friday, we had about 20 people, and I asked people to put up their hand if they see him as a very sweet, nice man. And immediately everybody put their hand up, all 20 people. And I then explained to Santosh that he's been believing something that's simply wrong. It's just a wrong belief that has been building up from when he was a small boy. And now that he sees how, in fact, the truth is that everybody who's living with him, we all see he's a very nice man, and we're all very happy he's living with us. And so basically now he's got to do the job of getting rid of this old wrong idea. It might have been true when he was a little boy, but it's certainly not true now at 30 years old. And so this is not so easy. When you have something very strongly in your mind that was put there when you were young and when you couldn't protect yourself, then this is a it can be a trauma if it's a strong thing, very strong thing that happened to you. It could be a trauma, or it could simply be a kind of habit that developed when you were young, And so in his case, he's got a very strong idea that nobody likes him. And if he went to a party, nobody would want to meet him. Nobody want to be open with him. And, basically he has the idea he's a terrible person, which is completely false. You see, he's got a completely false idea. And I suggested to him, actually, probably it was today, I think, that it's something he can look at and he can come to see that something has changed now in his life, and he can embrace the new thing in his life. So it's kind of like existence or God, or whichever word you want to use. God put him through this difficult time as a small boy, and equally now it's putting him in a completely different environment, which is definitely working for him, because here we all like him very much. We don't want to discipline him or do any horrible things to him. And so it's very important that he deals with that change, and he doesn't just leave it as it always has been, but he makes the effort to bring his awareness and convince his own mind that it's no longer true and something else is true. And this can make a huge difference, actually. Huge difference. So this meditation we're doing in the morning, at the beginning of the Zoom meeting, where we look and bring our attention to whatever is happening, and we don't try to change it. Don't try to change it, you see. Okay. Anybody like to comment on this, this idea of Ramana? Okay, Parvati.
Yes. How I experience the surrender, it is not like a doing, It is just that if you are aware enough that you go with the flow, then it's nothing else. That's how I understand, as you go with the flow. But therefore, you must be aware enough where is the flow, or how is the flow. But it's not a doing, my feeling. Not I do surrender.
Right.
It's more like a happening or not
I
happening.
mean, a funny example of this. This afternoon, we had to go and meet our lawyer because we have a court case coming up again about our house. And so we had this meeting with the lawyer. And when we came downstairs from the lawyer's office, right next door is a Japanese restaurant. And somehow it's got into the flow that whenever we meet our lawyer, which is not quite nice, we always go to the Japanese restaurant after, because the Japanese restaurant is one of the best I've ever met in the West, in Europe. It's extremely nice Japanese restaurant, very high quality food and not particularly expensive. And so we got in the habit of always going to the restaurant to kind of balance the feelings we have inside, because although our lawyer is very friendly and very competent, he's not a lot of fun, you can say. And so by going to this restaurant, as we come down to get the car, we just always go in the restaurant. So this is one kind of simple flow that we never really decided, but everybody's happy to do it. So there are many kinds of flows, of course, and sometimes what seems to be presented to us is something that we can say, oh, I don't like that, or I don't want that. So when we start doing that, of course, it quickly destroys any idea of surrender. So that doesn't work. That kind of surrender doesn't work. And the other kind of surrender that doesn't work is that we surrender to God, and then we say to God, I've now already been surrendered for a month, God. So now I would like a new car or a new dress or, something, you see. And that also doesn't work, because that's not a surrender when we ask for something back, So this word surrender, I think, is absolutely requiring us to understand about trust. It seems to me trust and surrenders goes together. And the more we can trust, the more we can go deeper with our surrender. And if there's no trust, we can't even consider surrendering. I mean, it has no meaning, really. Anybody else like to say something about this? Thank you, Parvati. Okay, Krishna.
I just can explain this. When I look in the beginning, when I came here, I had with many tasks and many things quite a heavy time. Yeah. When I was looking at them, I didn't have a complete yes, and I want to do it, and the energy was just like flowing. It was more like, oh, haha, this task I have to make, and now I was thinking, how can I do it? And oh, a lot of troubles, and I got stuck. I didn't ask for help, so it was combined with a lot of heavy things. And now it starts to rain here like hell, and I just look outside and I say, "Oh, great! I have to do the sandbags," or or whatever comes. I mean, there comes somebody who's really complaining about everything, and I go in the situation and I say, "Okay, what to do? How to help him?" But it's very easy, to go there. There's not a stuck thing, which I think, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And this is so light, and it's so amazing good. The It changed a bit, like I'm looking at myself. It changed a lot. In the beginning, I looked at myself as a very small, not able to do anything, and it
Well,
changed
I mean, you unfortunately suffered. What we discovered in the beginning with you is that you had suffered from many years where your parents
Yeah.
were the kind of parents who never allowed you to be good enough. You were always sort of not good enough. And of course, when parents treat a child like that, it has a very strong effect. And I think you had this strong effect. You had no trust in your own ability, whereas now this trust is a strong thing which you have developed over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And now it has an effect on you because now you can approach your daily life with a kind of trust that it's going to work out in a kind of flow because you're probably not unconditionally surrendered. You're not completely surrendered, but you're moving in a direction because there's a lot of trust. And you've got this great job down in Denver where we bought this fantastic house and garden, super beautiful. And you've got the job of kind of being the gardener and the handyman and welcoming guests. And I mean, you've got the best job in the community, probably. You're lucky it's not raining. It's only raining when John David comes to Spain.
Yes.
You know this thing about the rain in Spain comes mostly on the plain, Anyway, did the pond, the pool rooms get flooded this time, or was all right?
Oh, they're quite in a good condition, no moldy, not humid. It's very nice. Yeah.
Oh, good.
There's 1 or 2 spots we have to do something, and the rain gutters we have to do something, but
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's no we over the next 2 months, or 1 month. So I guess it's down to you. Yeah.
of course. Okay.
Okay, very nice. Yeah. Okay, so I read a little bit more. The question was, I've heard of Bhagwan's line of teaching, the complete surrender. Oh, sorry, I just lost my. I've heard of Bhagwan's line of teaching that complete surrender to God or unconditional surrender is the goal. But I find it impossible to achieve unconditional surrender. How to accomplish it? Bhagwan. If one genuinely feels from the bottom of one's heart, not I, but thou, not my will, but thine, I am totally helpless to do anything. Let the Lord do it as he likes with me. Some higher power, name it the power or strength of the self, or anything you like, takes up the man in its embrace and delivers him to the goal. Yours will become completely non-existent. Sorry, your will becomes completely non-existent. The Lord's will takes its place. You cannot have likes, dislikes, or preferences after complete surrender. It is for you to meekly accept the will of the divine. Such a one would not have the idea that he is the doer of the actions performed by the body. Having surrendered, one does not pray for this or that, but simply takes to be God's will, whatever comes to transpire. To surrender is to merge in the source of the ego. Thus, having given up the ego self in this manner, no one remains to ask, when will self-realization dawn upon me, nor any other question. Absolute surrender is the culminating, is culminating of destiny in devotion. Okay. So several years ago, actually it was about 20 years ago, I was suddenly invited to go to Ukraine and give some meetings in Ukraine. And it was a funny situation because the woman who was inviting me, she would organize my visit. Previously, she had been going to do the same organizing in Russia itself. I was going to go to where was I going to go? To Moscow, I think. I was going to go to Moscow and she was going to organize it. But in fact, she didn't organize it. So just a few days before I would fly there, I discovered that nothing really had been arranged. And so, it didn't feel a very nice situation. I can't remember if I went or I didn't go in the end. I can't quite remember. So when this woman then invited me to Ukraine, I was a bit feeling that, maybe I shouldn't go really. But actually, I got on a plane and I arrived in Kiev, and I was met at the airport by this woman. And she immediately took me to a group of about 15 Ukrainians, and we had a meeting together. And at the end of this meeting, there was a couple. The woman had been translating in my meeting, and the man, it turned out, liked to invite me to stay in his house that night because he was feeling incredibly touched by me showing up. Because some weeks before, he'd found a book of Ramana Maharshi's teachings somewhere in Kiev, and he started reading this book, and he was very touched by this book. Through this book, he came to know Ramana Maharshi for the first time. And then suddenly, John David is showing up in town talking about Ramana Maharshi. So it was incredibly touching for him. He actually was even crying from this situation. So I went with him and stayed the night in his house. So that was the first thing that happened on that trip, which was really amazing because that man, who was quite a young man, he had a fantastic house. It was like a cathedral with, about 15-meter high ceiling. And he lived there with his wife and daughter. And when he was a bit younger, he had figured out a way to make huge amounts of money. And he made huge amounts of money. So he was one of these oligarchs, but a very friendly oligarch. And later, he invited me to go back to Kiev. And out of my starting to visit regularly and collecting up a few students, he showed me some property where his father used to be the boss of a forestry and fishing department of the government. And now that, of course, that wasn't happening anymore. But this man showed me this place, and together we decided we would start to develop it, and I would open a kind of seminar center there, which is what happened. It took some time, but that's actually what happened. So that was the second thing that happened out of my, that was the first thing that happened out of my visit there. And the second thing was that I met a woman. Well, I met lots of women, of course, but somehow there was one young woman who, I don't know, we had some kind of immediate buzz, because many years later, she told me that when I had showed up there, but she hadn't even met me, but she had felt my energy or something. And she already had made some kind of surrender towards me, which I didn't know at the time, of course. And this woman ended up coming to Germany, staying in our community. And amazingly, she and I decided to make children together. So out of me being invited by this woman who wasn't really completely, how can I say, she wasn't completely, well, I remember at the end of my visit there, she treated me out of the money I was supposed to get. So that was a bit of a negative thing. But out of this sort of moment in my life, I met this young woman who came to Germany. And after we'd been together about 6 years, together we decided to make 2 children, which was 10 years ago. And now I have 2 9-year-old daughters, and I'm 81. So what do you reckon about that? You see, this is the kind of situation that can happen, because it was clear to me that I wasn't deciding anything. I wasn't deciding anything. And it was such an amazing change, because now I have 2 little girls in my life. So these things can happen, but you have to first be ready to give up all this personal stuff, you see, this personal stuff. And actually, I'm going to ask Carly for a response, because recently we've been really struggling to eliminate all her personal family stories. But in her case, it's a very, very hard job. And so I got a little help on Sunday, because she went and did a family, what do you call
Constellation.
it? Okay.
Yeah. This family constellation helped definitely to be more clear, or see also more how much stuff I got from my family, which I took to me. Like not, I could see that it's not all my pain. It just went through me or something. And what I could also see very clearly is that I am holding this pain. It's a bit like with Santosh, yeah? It's like all the things are gone, and why the suffering is still happening is because I'm holding this pain because it's so familiar. And yeah, I mean, this is standing in between surrendering or going on this path, because it is all personal story. It is all connected to this person, and it's very small. It feels energetically very small to be only concerned with my problems, But so even knowing this, it was very hard, or it is very hard to get out of this. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got an extremely strong habit, and you don't really want to let this habit go. And so what you're doing is you're really, really holding very strongly onto this personal stuff, you see. So this is enormous sabotage in terms of benefiting from spiritual work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you definitely are somebody, I think you've lived 3 or 4 years now in the community. You're definitely somebody who has a lot of creativity. You sing very nicely in the band, and you do artwork very nice. And you're also a very good carer for my daughters, actually. Yeah? So, I mean, you have many, many positive attributes, but you somehow don't want to give too much energy to these current or future things. You rather go always back into old stories, which definitely didn't serve you well at the time. And they're not serving you well now either.
Mm.
But you have some kind of very strong inability just to let these habits go, because it's a kind of habit now, these things.
Yeah. I could see it also in the family constellation. There was one moment where they put a kind of cushion on the ground, and this cushion was my pain, which I can give back to my parents and to my grandparents, you know. That I can give it back because it's not my pain. And I was like picking this pain up and wanting to bring it to them. And I couldn't look even up, you know. My whole focus was like this on this cushion and walking like this. And so I could really see that, yeah, my focus is so on these things. It was so hard to give it back with like energy and like with an upright looking. And so it's definitely a very, 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 very strong tendency. I take it all against me kind of thing. Yeah, but actually this whole weekend, not only the family constellation, but also this Dhamaranda guy, I think he was called, and this Hana movie we watched was very touching for me because the words which are in my mind since then is what Dhamaranda said. How his work is happening is also he's stepping beside and let it happen. And this is how it feels, that I'm in the way of, I'm kind of this stepping aside is often not happening, where life can just flow. And yeah, where it's then that's not so personal. It's just more than that. More than that.
Yeah. So let's see in the next time what happens, you know. But this is a really good moment for you to trust what you're beginning to understand and not to keep going back into the past. Yeah. And to see that you have this habit to go back into.
Yeah.
And for example, you can start to maybe trust more what's going on in your life, because actually in the last 3 or 4 years since you lived in the community, there's a big change in the quality of your life. You can recognize that.
Yeah.
Because basically God does a pretty good job if you're ready to surrender to him. You see, but of course we rather trust our own me than surrender to some other situation. And as far as I can see, you have the necessary qualities to trust more, you know. For example, in the case of my daughters, you're doing homework with them every day, and then there's always some kind of additional things where you get involved. And you do this very beautifully with a lot of surrender, actually, a lot of letting go, you know. So this particular bit of your life is working very well from if you like, God, and you can see that and then start to trust that it can go very well with other bits where you don't have to stay with your me, but you can surrender and trust what God will sort out for you. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in order to get the benefit of this surrendering, it's very important that we see and can really have a strong awareness of what's going on inside. So developing this awareness is a very good part of the meditation that I would suggest you do each morning, for example. We come together in meditation. So that is the place where you can develop this awareness, strong awareness that you really understand what's going on. Good, good, okay. Okay. Anybody else like to, Margot? Okay. I can't hear you.
What do you mean that you have to listen to God? Do you mean realize where awareness is?
Yeah, that for example, when we meditate, right, we close our eyes, we look inside, and there may be thoughts or feelings there. And in a normal situation, we take a thought like I'm hungry, for example, or what time is lunch, or I don't know. We take some thought and we take it in, and that leads to a whole series of thoughts, maybe. When we don't take the thought in and we just be aware of the thought, the thought comes in and it goes out again. Yeah. And so we don't have to catch the thought. We can just observe the thought.
Mm-hmm.
So that process of observing the thought is very important, actually. And it requires a lot of meditation practice to bring us into well, first of all, into enough basic silence. And also we need meditation to make it clear, to sort of develop our awareness so that we become very good at seeing when I am doing and when God is doing, with the whole intention that I want to surrender to what God is doing. And I don't want to involve in what I'm doing or what I could be doing. So it changes something very fundamental inside most people, because most people have been brought up in a way that that we trust that I am running and I am doing my life. You know, I'm the one who does my life, and we're not very familiar anyway in Europe, particularly in Europe and North America. In the West, we're not very knowledgeable or even maybe interested in this awareness. But when you travel to India or to Japan or even China, these countries in Asia, they have a tremendous tradition of trusting God and not trusting themselves. It's a completely different culture. And now you're visiting India, you will have many small meetings with the situation that I'm talking about now. So, for example, I remember a few years ago, I walked through the village that is just behind the ashram where we're going to stay. I just walked down one of the streets and I felt, wow, this is so open. So the animals and the people were sharing the same house, maybe. And they didn't lock the house. Nobody was locking the house, you know. So you could feel the ease in which neighbors could talk to each other, you know, while they're milking their cow or something, and they chat to the other neighbor and so on. And when I walked through this village, I was just amazed in a way how much flow there was, and it was all going by itself, you could say. Yeah. So in some ways, you're going to experience India as there being a lot of surrender. You can feel it in the people, you know. So this will be an interesting thing for you to observe when you come there. In fact, you can walk through the same village just behind where we stay.
So do I understand you okay when I say when you say look at what God wants from you, you also can say be aware all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the same?
Yeah,
Yeah. And then I understood you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we want to develop the awareness about what is happening in a way that you don't take it all back to me all the time.
Yeah, don't identify you with thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Yeah, just watch them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Good. Okay. Anybody else have something? I've got one more bit to read, so maybe I'll read that. The question, I find the surrender method the easiest of all. I want to adopt it. However, I'm a householder. I have family responsibilities to fulfill. I cannot be indifferent to the outcome of events. Bhagwan. To truly surrender is to completely cease to care. You no longer have any cares, for all your cares are now his. This is the true import of surrender, and not verbally saying or mentally thinking, I surrender, or I have surrendered my life to God. Totally remove mental constructs such as I am a householder. Having surrendered to God, leave it to him to fulfill your needs and responsibilities in any way. He sees fit by asking you as a tool. Once the false idea, I am the doer, is removed, actions will go on of themselves. There is no bar on the householder's life. When worldly anxieties threaten to inundate your mind, tell yourself, these are not my problems. They are God's. He will take care of them as he sees fit, by making me as an instrument for the appropriate actions when the appropriate time arrives. I need not worry myself about anything. In due course, such thoughts will also become unnecessary, and worldly cares are totally erased from the mind. Though the body may be engaged night and day like a madman in worldly activities arising out of the inevitable accumulated past karma responsible for your current life. So this karma, this is made up of our actions, and we want to let all that karma disappear. We don't want to hold on to that karma. When responsibilities for actions is thrown on the higher power, he alone carries on all activity. Thus, the I am the doer idea of the ego is destroyed and thoughts become irrelevant. Gradually, the mind becomes asleep to the world and awake only to the self within. That is the natural state of the jnani. Jnani is a self-realized person. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's the rest of the text. Anybody like to comment on the last bit of the text? Bhaskar, shall we have a bit of input from you?
Hello. Hello, George. Excuse me, I've got a bit of flu at the moment.
Got what?
I've got a bit of flu at the moment. I'm not too well, so I'm not
okay.
really coughing and spluttering everywhere, I'm afraid. Yeah, I think it's very interesting what Bhagavan says regards to surrender. From a personal point of view, getting rid of the I function, if you like, I tend to try to do at the bottom of the breath through meditation. But the important thing, I think, from what he's saying, is when we use surrender and self-inquiry together, the surrender part must be unconditional. It's interesting that when I did the meditation at the beginning, the words in my head, I surrendered to Bhagavan. I said, I surrender unconditionally to you, Bhagavan. And then everything went quiet. So it's about following those paths down that particular route, but not being aware that, you know, everything must just go with the flow, which is what Parvati said, which is quite interesting. And just let the process do what the process needs to do in order to clear us of there is no experiencer. That's the point. There is no experiencer. And to get to that point is being able to surrender unconditionally, but also use the other little tool in the toolbox, which is the self-inquiry, which is what I do. But don't get me wrong, the thoughts do come back from time to time, and they come back and they bite quite hard sometimes. But I've now got to a state where I can come outside of the thoughts and look at them more objectively in my awareness, and not be drawn into them and let them cascade you down an alleyway that will take you somewhere not very nice. So it takes work, a lot of hard work, but I think the surmise is you must surrender unconditionally, whether it be to Bhagavan or to God. I mean, I'm not so keen on the word God. I think I'm like you, John. I prefer divine intelligence is probably a little bit more, a little bit better, I think, possibly. But I think it's just being able to surrender to that process is where I'm getting at.
Right, right. Okay, well, I think that's something that you should just keep as a very clear intention. You know?
Yeah, it is a clear intention. And it's the old cliche, you know, I'm not sure some of my German friends will sort of like understand this, but in England we have a say, you'll only get out of it what you put into it. So the more you put into it, the more practice, the more surrender, the more self-inquiry, then it will lead you to those more quieter times. And I have to say, you know, over the last couple of months, now I know I'm going back to India as well, is also a great help, because I know that the mountain's calling me, and I'm on my way, and I've now started to surrender and let go of a lot of other things. So it's been quite nice.
Okay. So Margaret, what you see behind his head, could you just, so that mountain is where we are going to have our retreat, and we're going to have it on the roof of an ashram where we can look directly onto this mountain. So yeah.
I think the beautiful thing was where the room was last time in January, when we were there in January, is I'd walk out every morning and I'd be greeted with the mountain. So I would spend every morning just 10 minutes before we went off to do yoga and meditation. I would just stand there for 10 minutes and just let the energy from the mountain encompass me. And then that way I've now understand that I'm going to do the same sort of thing, but I'm going to surrender to the mountain as well. So it's kind of like trying to hit it with as many things as I can to try and, you know, follow that path.
Okay, so please do that, including not saying I so often.
Yeah, I'll try and do it.
When I am going to surrender.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's because it's indoctrinated in our language, and we kind of like it's, you know, everybody does it. You know, even the most spiritually inclined people. I've been reading Robert Adams, and he also refers to himself as I, and he's probably one of the most self-enlightened people out there. But it's one of those things I don't know. I think what you were saying about thine and thou, and maybe we use the word one as well, is probably an interesting where one would go. Not quite sure, but it's all literal language, isn't it?
I just got suddenly got an idea, Bhaskar. You know, sometime on your last trip to the retreat in India, you had shown me a picture of one of your daughters.
Yeah.
I told you I think looks absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
She wouldn't like to come and help look after
I have actually asked her, John, and unfortunately, when she can't do it at the moment because she's actually got 2 jobs. And she has to pay her rent and all the other stuff, and she's making her way in the world, and I'm very proud of her. You know, she's done a marvelous job, but she does have to work these 2 jobs, unfortunately. And I did make her the offer And I said I'd pay for the flight, etc. But unfortunately, she does have those work commitments, and as much as she would love to, and she said to me to pass on to you her thanks, because it was very thoughtful of you to think of her, because we had a conversation in Spain, if you remember. We had a chat about it in Spain. But I will keep an eye out. I mean, I asked both my daughters, actually, the two younger
You never
ones.
know, they may get sacked tomorrow, you know.
If they
You
do,
know, existence has its ways, you know, has its ways. It's not all good.
yeah, it does. Yeah, there's divine intervention. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, we had kind of a lively evening. Let me go back to the gallery. Yeah, we had a remarkably active evening. Anybody want to say a word or two? Okay, Ananda.
So whenever you read the lines, there was in the beginning not, but when you read this, not my thy Lord, there were tears coming, and this was happening all the time when you read something. So something inside was so touched, and yeah.
Okay, so maybe have I given you a copy of this book? Actually, well, we only got it yesterday, so probably after this meeting, I'll give everybody a copy of the book, and then you can read it yourself. Okay.
Okay.
All right. But some of you may want to wait and have it in German. I mean, we've still got to translate this book into German, which won't be ready until probably Easter next year. It takes longer to translate it than to edit it, maybe. Okay, very nice. Anybody else for the final comment? Okay, Saraswati.
Okay. The quote from Ramana again reminded me
Das Zitat
on
von Ramana erinnert
when you were
mich
saying, try to be an instrument of
daran,
God.
wenn du auch sagst,
I
sei
mean,
ein
I've heard this
Instrument für
in
Gott. Und ich
different
habe das
contexts also,
in
like in
verschiedenen
church,
Kontexten schon gehört, wie in der
but
Kirche
then
auch.
it was never explained in a
Aber
way.
da wurde es nie erklärt, was das
But
bedeutet.
recently I had a talk with Indira,
Aber vor
and
kurzem
then
hatte
we
ich ein
found,
Gespräch mit
she pointed
Indira.
out,
Und da hat sie
if we are not clear
gesagt,
about our intention
wenn wir
behind
nicht
what we
klar
are
sind
doing, then we are probably not doing
mit
what
unserer
God wants.
Intention
So it's very
für das, was wir
important not
tun,
to
dann machen wir wahrscheinlich nicht
not
das,
to
was Gott möchte.
not to do something because one feels, well, I'm very good in this, or I'm
Also
feeling
es
safe
ist
when I'm doing this,
wichtig,
but rather
nicht nur Sachen
getting
zu
more silent
machen,
and
bei denen man sich gut
observing
fühlt
what
oder
actually
confident
happens.
fühlt, sondern
But
Sachen zu
yeah, I mean,
machen, wo man still
this
sein kann, sich
requires, I
beobachten
think,
kann.
a lot of work
Aber
also.
das
And
bedarf einiges an innerer Arbeit natürlich.
this, I asked
When
myself,
you say there's a lot of work, you also could say
Was
I'm
meinst du,
very young, so I've
wenn
got
du
lots of
sagst,
time.
wenn du sagst, das ist eine Menge
So
Arbeit, dann könntest du auch sagen,
it's
du bist
really
sehr jung,
wonderful to be
also
so
du
young when
hast
you
sehr viel
start, you
Zeit,
see,
also
because
sehr
it does
schön,
take
früh
time and it
anzufangen, weil
is
man noch so
quite a
viel
hard
Zeit hat.
job. But
Und es ist ein schwieriger
the
Job
situation when
und
you
es
can
braucht
live in
definitiv Zeit.
presence, live with
Aber
your
die
own love
Situation, wenn
being
du
motivating
dann
you,
in deiner
and you're
eigenen
not
Liebe
looking
leben
on the
kannst
outside that somebody should come and love you, that might
und
happen, but
nicht nach
you
außen
know,
schaust nach
you're
jemandem, der dich
basically
liebt
independent
und sehr
of
unabhängig
everybody.
bist.
And I mean, you have this wonderful intelligence, and
Und du
so
hast diese
I think
tolle
you're going to get a lot
Intelligenz,
of
also
benefit
du
from
kannst
what
eine
you've chosen
Menge
now in your life.
daraus bekommen, aus dem, was du jetzt für dein Leben
Okay.
gewählt hast.
Good. Good. Anybody else like to make a comment or two? Okay, so thank you. Nice meeting. Yeah.